what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 1931 Franklin Series 15 Model 152. Up front is a 4.5 liter air-cooled straight six, and down below is a 3-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Franklin because it is the first Franklin featured here on the channel. Franklin was an old automobile company out of Syracuse, New York, and they did not make it up to World War II. They actually only made it one more year after this, 1932. So I'm excited to show you not only a dead brand, but a long dead brand that you might not have seen in quite some time, or at least teach you one or two things about the Franklin name. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to the Rusty Restored Relics Car Club for making this video possible. You can find more information about them in the description below. But let's get back to that air-cooled straight six, 274 cubic inch engine. Well, that was Franklin's calling card, is that they made air-cooled vehicles. So not only was Franklin a luxury brand, but they offered a ton of reliability in the era because one of their sayings was no belts, no water pump. It simplified the engine quite a bit. And that's a big plus. These were also really popular with doctors, dentists, and anyone who had to be on call. Because back in the 1930s, coolant didn't exist yet. So during cold weather, you would have to drain the water out of your car every night so it wouldn't freeze over. Well, you didn't have to worry about that with the Franklin. And there was a guy, now the story has many different versions, but there was a guy out in Death Valley back in 1924 that tied his Franklin to a post and let it drive in circles for 24 hours, and it never overheated. So they stuck true to their word about reliability. Like I said, paired to it is a manual 3-speed non-synchronized transmission, so you do have to double clutch and things like that. It's a little annoying to drive, especially because low gear is actually left and back, kind of where second gear would normally be. It's a really interesting pattern. I guess you could technically classify it as a 4-speed, and some people do, but you really only use 1, 2, and 3 without counting low. Last but not least about the drivetrain, of course, the Franklin is rear-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive? Well, it drives a lot more plush and a lot more cushiony than a Ford Model A, which I'm very used to, and I actually own a 1931 Ford Model A, so same year. You notice that this rides a lot more plush than that. This was a more expensive vehicle, and you got what you paid for in that regard. It had a bigger engine and a nicer ride. Visibility is fine for a 30s car. I wouldn't say it's overly good or overly bad. And acceleration, it's fine. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, directly in front of me, all I have is an ominous button, and that's actually your starter motor. The steering wheel at the bottom is the hand throttle, and up at the top is actually your high and low beams for the lights. On the door, we just have the crank for the window and latch to get in and out. That's it. And moving into the center, this is where we get all of our goodies for our speedometer, odometer, clock, voltage, temperature, as well as our choke, a Franklin badge, things of that sort. Down below, we do have the parking brake and shifter. Like I said, manual 3-speed, unsynchronized. It's a little bit of a handful to drive, but that's okay. And the gas pedal looks like an inverted spoon. Kind of a weird look there. The seats are very cushiony and comfortable. I really, really enjoy sitting in them, and I fit in here a lot better than I do in the Model A. But this is a bigger car, so I would surely hope so. However, there is no cup holder, so it fails the big friggin' bottle test. But now let's talk about the back seats. All right, getting in the back of a Franklin, somewhere that probably not a lot of people watching this video have been, so I will do my best to try to describe it. It's very spacious. The roof does curve a little bit, but these seats are so bouncy, so soft, really help out with that nice ride quality. Sitting here, my knees are about 2 feet from the front seat. You want to be in the back of a Franklin. You don't really want to drive it. You really want to be back here, which is the big selling point. I do have this armrest that folds down. Other than that, like no crazy amenities. I have these grab handles to help getting in, but other than that, it's just a really, really nice place to be. I love the dome light up here has this nice sort of detail on the outside. It's really, really cool and special. However, let's hop around back and talk about the literal trunk. All right, so here is the trunk, and I mean that in a very literal sense because it actually gets its name from, this was just a trunk that you would have in your house that you would put clothes in or other things. This was just sat here, perched here on this little lid that was made to hold a trunk. But that's it. We do get some like cargo tie down, strap down areas right there. But back in the early 1930s, this is where they literally were trunks. And then towards the late 30s, they actually started integrating the trunk into the design and offering it for standard use as opposed to just, hey, whatever trunk you got, toss it on the back. It was actually an integrated part. So this is early 30s where it hasn't been integrated yet. And unfortunately, Franklin didn't live long enough to ever have an integrated trunk because they went out of business. So this is one of the later Franklin's made, and that is very, very cool. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really enjoy the look of the Franklin. We'll do this walk around here, and this is a really well-kept example, really well-preserved Franklin, and I really, really like that. I like the green with the green accents. I like all the headlights that you get and the little trunk at the back. It's so unapologetically 1930s that it's really cool to see that. But if you want your tall tale sign of how to tell a Franklin apart from other vehicles of the era, because I know sometimes it can be hard, for the air-cooled engine, there's these little doors on the hood. That's to help with the cooling, so that's a tall tale sign that it's air-cooled and a Franklin at that. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Franklin? Well, it's incredibly cool. This has been an amazing experience to drive something not only this old, but air-cooled and kind of forgotten by society. So all of those paired together is really, really neat. But let's talk about Franklin as a whole. This is one of those brands that was severely mismanaged during the Great Depression. They had great designs, they had great vehicles, but the upper management just couldn't keep it together. And so they actually ended up taking out a big loan in the late 1920s. And when the stock market crashed, the people they took the loan from wanted their money back, and they wanted it back fast. So the only real thing to do was to liquidate. And so towards the end here, it kind of got wonky with Franklin because they were just kind of dealing with leftover parts in 1931 and 32. They only made about 30 or so vehicles in this specific format or this configuration. They had to get rid of parts and had to sell. So finding a Franklin today isn't the easiest of tasks, but the owner Ed has helped me do it today and show you guys this wonderful piece of American motoring history. So, huge thank you to Ed for giving me this opportunity, as well as the Restored Rusty Relics group here in North New Jersey. They're absolutely wonderful. They have awesome shows throughout the year. And if you have a vintage vehicle and would like to join the group, you can most certainly do so with the link found in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.